Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, Maximizing Technology for Remote Work. Our speakers are Fred Sudler and Ryan Gould from KSM Consulting. Fred and Ryan, let's go ahead and dive in.
Thanks, Stephanie. Hi, everybody. I just want to say welcome and thank you for attending our webinar. Today, we're going to evaluate our technology stack and determine what tools and platforms are needed to support a remote workforce. Following that, we're going to discuss ways to engage and equip our staff so that they're successful in their roles, regardless of their physical location. After that, we'll have a little bit of time for some Q&A. So, a little bit of introduction here. We are KSM Consulting. We're an Indianapolis-based technology, data, and management consulting firm. We're a little over 11 years old and started out as an IT partner providing technology agnostic advice to small businesses and the public sector. Since then, we've grown to over 200 employees. As you can see on your screen, our mission is really to help our clients, coworkers, and communities thrive. So for our technology team, that really means helping our clients understand their IT environment or develop one that will work towards strategic organizational needs, or even running support projects like server migrations, Microsoft Office 365 implementations, or even moving an office. Finally, we really want to just work to ensure the day-to-day operations of the business and the employees are really productive and secure. My name is Fred Sudler. I'm a consultant here on the KSMC technology team. I've had the opportunity to work with technology for a little over 20 years, and my role here at KSMC is to work with our clients in implementing, supporting productivity and document management solutions. Ryan?
Hey everybody, this is Ryan Gould. I'm the director of our technology services group, and I've been here for almost a decade. And been in the industry for a long time as well, almost 18 years in various forms, give or take. I'm just glad to be here, hopeful that I can share some insights and ideas and how we run our business remotely and maybe give some for you as well.
Thanks, Ryan. So I think we can all agree that we really entered into some uncommon times. Many of us are now working remote and trying to navigate some of the challenges that come along with that, both from a personal and technological perspective. So we here at KSMC have encountered our own technological challenges, and we just really want to share with you some of the lessons that we've learned. First, we've really found that to have a great technology stack to support our remote workforce, we need to evaluate and construct it from several different angles. First, does it enable our teams to easily work from home with minimal change from the systems in an office? And then second, and certainly just as important, is ensuring that the right technology is in place to support our clients and our customers. Are we able to effectively interact and support those people who are really looking to our business for assistance? Third, do we have the right processes in place to effectively support our employees and clients? Are our processes really manual and do they require a lot of face-to-face interaction? And is that really hindered now that we're in a remote work situation? Fourth, do we have the technology in place that's going to help our staff to feel engaged and connected within the organization? And then finally, are we providing adequate training to enable our staff to maximize their usage of the technology that we've provided them with? So here's some of the components that we've really found to help create a great technology stack. And we want to encourage you to consider either implementing them or if you already have them, evaluating your current usage to see if there are areas for improvement. First off, collaboration and co-authoring tools. So implementing a tool or tools such as Microsoft SharePoint or Microsoft Teams is really going to enable you and your staff to communicate and collaborate effectively. When you use these tools, you're really going to be able to have impromptu face-to-face meetings using video calls, or your staff is going to be able to invite other members to come in and collaborate with them or co-author a document in real time and having conversations around that while you see them making the changes inside of the document. And then using SharePoint, you have the ability to implement automated content approvals. You can automatically apply some of your company's document retention policies, or you can even enhance your document management strategies using that tool. But really, those are part of a larger picture, which is your productivity platform. So a platform such as Office 365 certainly enables us to use the applications that we're used to, like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, but there are really many more features that can be utilized inside of this stack to enhance productivity. There are tools such as Power Automate that can take some of those manual business processes that we have and can start to work to automate them, that can drive increased speed and efficiency. You have the ability to use an application such as Microsoft Forms, which allows you to your internal resources to quickly spin up questionnaires to gather information, and then they can access the responses of that and start to run analysis on it. So there are many more tools inside of this platform that can really help to support the productivity, the communication, collaboration, your employee engagement, and much more. And we feel you really need to have a great telephony solution in place. So voice over IP systems. Our phone systems really need to be able to support the communications from different geographical locations in these times, right? So we want to make sure that we are implementing a good solution that can provide cost-effective phone system and also be flexible and scalable. And then we want to make sure that we look at what kind of conferencing tools do we have in place. Using tools such as Microsoft Teams or GoToWebinar is really going to enable us to effectively engage with our employees and also with our clients, while giving us the added ability to do some screen sharing with them or video conferencing capabilities. So given that, we really want to look at what are the tools we have in place for our customer interaction. There are great CRMs available to help you connect with your customers and understand and anticipate some of their needs. Having a well-rounded view of your customer or client base is really going to enhance your organization's ability to interact with them. And then other tools such as Microsoft Teams can enable real-time chat and collaboration with people outside of your organization as well as inside. Additionally, there are tools that you can use, such as ConnectWise, that can provide visibility into some of your customer issues and can enable your support teams to quickly work on resolving some of those issues. Of course, we all live in a world where data is a premium commodity, and we have to put the proper protection in place to keep it safe. So when we look at things from a security aspect, we want to make sure that we have the proper antivirus, that we have enabled secure communications between your staff and your data. And then really want to make sure that you have the proper training in place so that your staff is equipped to have effective ways to protect their systems and your data from being compromised from malicious attacks. And those are really paramount to protecting the lifeblood of our business. And then we really need to look at what does a home internet and network really look like? When we're all remote, it's really vital to ensure that we have the proper ability to access our company data. We need to make sure that we have the proper tools in place so that we can get from our home computers, our home network, and into our company's data. Additionally, we want to make sure that our users, our staff, have the adequate speeds to be able to support communication such as video conferencing or Teams calls or anything like that. And then finally, we want to make sure that we have a great help desk support component in that. We've all experienced those frustrating times when we're in the middle of working on an important email or a document, and then our systems go haywire. And then so we're sitting and waiting on IT support to help us out. So the longer that we're down, the longer it's going to take to complete those tasks. Therefore, having the proper technical support levels in place is really going to ensure that your staff are able to get back to work quickly when they experience technical issues with their equipment or applications. So with that in mind, Ryan, would you like to talk a little bit about the technology and processes we've implemented at KSMC and how we've approached it?
Sure, that was a really great summary. Thanks for that. So for us, I mean, obviously, we're a technology company, and so let me just preface this with this idea of a technology continuum. Everybody is at a certain point in their organization's kind of technology right now, and it's not bad or good. It's just we're at different places in time and we have different needs. And so for our particular needs, we're pretty far in the front side of that continuum. We've pushed ourselves pretty hard to be there and then help our clients kind of move along that needle as well. So this is what's right for us, not necessarily what's perfect for everybody. So let me just give some context there, okay? But for us, right, it kind of starts with this cloud-first approach to how we implement technology. We right out of the gate we moved every workload we could, things like email and CRM and proposal management. We moved all of those types of things into a software as a service type of solution. So something that we don't have to manage the underlying infrastructure. It just kind of lives in its solution. Someone else manages it. We subscribe to those services and they show up to us. And then everything else, right? Everything else that didn't have a native platform to move into, we moved into virtual hardware, and that's where the Microsoft Azure platform comes in for us. And then for those things that didn't go into a software as a service, we have strategies long term to modernize those applications in some form or fashion. Flip over to the next one, Fred. Things like collaboration and co-authoring for us, we utilize really the Office 365 platform almost entirely for that. Things like, Fred talked about SharePoint and OneDrive, and especially Teams to start housing and collaborating on our document type data. We really wanted to start kind of talking about editing and capturing all the conversations that happen around our documents in one ecosystem. Instead of what a lot of folks do, and what we used to do as well was we edit a document, we pop it in an email, we send it to somebody, they edit it, they send it back in email, and we ended up with hundreds of versions of these documents. And so now we have really kind of root sources of truth for our documents, and can capture all the little bits around the edges that were important to creating them in the first place. For the productivity platform, like I said, we shifted really entirely to Office 365 for all of our Microsoft licensing. This includes the desktop licensing, server licensing, all the database licensing, all the remote access licensing. It's all managed and housed in that productivity platform in Office 365 now. And it's darn near apples to apples. So 5 years ago, people would complain that it's on-premise version of all the cloud things is just so different. But in today's landscape, it's just almost identical. So it's super easy to manage and provides a singular experience for our users. On the voice side, that one's pretty simple. We switched to voice over IP, about 10, 11 years ago, so almost since the beginning. And we use a local company called Level 365. We really like working with those folks. They have a good solution that works well with kind of how we need to work with call center type situations. It did require an upgrade to our network when we built it. So keep that in mind. If you're not running voice over IP now, it often requires an upgrade to the underlying network to be effective. But it's a great tool to allow our folks to be mobile pretty much anywhere and still appear as if they're calling in from our company's phone numbers and our company's call centers. It's also nice for today's situation, like all of our people literally physically can pick up their phones, take them home with them, plug them in, and they're functioning just like they do day to day. What's also nice is it allowed about 3/4 of our folks to eliminate their phones altogether, and they just run the voice over IP application on their iPhone. So it was significantly helpful for us to reduce our costs, and then get folks access to the voice system anywhere. For us, there's a high opportunity cost not to have our folks utilizing our system wherever they go. Conference tools, that one's a no-brainer. Again, Microsoft Teams is kind of our go-to, and then today's session is actually using a Microsoft product called Live Events, which is accessed from Teams, so it's a nice integrated ecosystem. We use Teams for simple chat. We use it for video calls. We use it for screen sharing. We use it for ad hoc meetings. If I need to have a conversation with somebody, I can quickly have that conversation via Teams instead of walking down the hall, or in this case, driving from home somewhere. And then again, Live Events, it's a great tool for broadcasting to large groups or presenting material to a large amount of people. Aside from that, right, we think there's this strong people component as well, right? In this case, in our case, right, it's our clients. In your case, it could be your clients, it could be your patients. Pick the right word there for your industry. But for our case, we use the word client. The client interaction for us is key. It's in everything we do, and so a lot of people just think CRM is just a tool, it's just like a sales tool, but we think it's got value way beyond just tracking those simple sales activities. We use it to track our client engagement. How often are we connecting with folks? We use it to manage the health of our clients. Are they in a good place? Do they have any risks to their ecosystem? Do they have any risks to their industry vertical? We use it to track various initiatives that they have. We use it to track the technology maturity I talked about early on. So how far along are they in this technology continuum? And we use a combination of tools to do all that. A product that's specific to our industry called ConnectWise. Another product that's specific to our industry, it's a custom managed services tool. And then we use a pretty common product called HubSpot that kind of integrates all this together. From a security standpoint, we use a plethora of products. We listed a few here. Right now it's kind of more important than ever to ensure that we have strong security in place. I'm sure you're all feeling that as well. Really, there's the proverbial chum is in the water, and the hacker sharks are out there swimming. So we've seen a pretty strong increase in hacker attempts, specifically the identity theft arena. So for us, we've always had these tools deployed, but we're seeing an increase in need for these across our clients. Things like multi-factor authentication, basically requiring your phone or an email verification or a text verification or something to verify you are who you are when you log into any of these systems. We use a product called Barracuda for lots of things, email security, email encryption, data protection, pick your poison. It does about 15 different things. It's got artificial intelligence attached to it that's looking at our email and making sure that malicious emails are not floating around our systems. We use a company called KnowBe4 that does two things for us, really. It both trains our folks on how to be aware of security concerns and also tests our folks on how well they're doing. So, are they clicking malicious links? Are they opening up emails that are suspicious? And then it will politely, I guess, or gently correct them when they make mistakes, and reward them when they do something well. So it's a nice tool. Home and internet. This is tough, right? So for us, we kind of expect all of our folks to have things like good internet connection wherever they live. But for sure, it's important for a lot of our organizations to think about this. If we're asking our folks to work remotely, do they have all the right home resources in place? Do they have a strong network? Do they have a good internet connection? So I've seen some organizations even provides stipends for their folks to upgrade their internets. Just depends on what their role is and what they need. And then really the last one is We've seen, if you're like us, we've seen a pretty large uptick of support needs from our end users. So we shifted a couple of our resources off of our consulting team over to our internal team to make sure that we're providing enough availability to support those folks, at least in the current times. So if you might find yourself also needing additional support, that's normal. We're just trying to help folks get acclimated in their home networks and get connected to all the tools because they may not have used a remote situation in the past. Fred, do you want to talk about some of kind of the direct support we're offering our people?
Sure. So when we talk about direct support for our people, I mean, we can talk about how we are trying to help our internal resources to better utilize some of the tools that they have, whether it's providing training for them or looking at how we can better implement our document management strategies and just continue to improve and provide better tools based on some of the feedback that we get from our own internal employees. Right. So some of the things that we're currently looking at is how effective is our document management strategy, and how can we make it better so that we enable our employees to be able to access their data and find their data easily, and really do it from a remote location, right? And they don't have to necessarily be connected to a VPN per se, to be able to look at some of the documents that were housed on a server, because maybe they're housed in SharePoint or in Microsoft Teams. And so we have the security in place using MFA for them to be able to access that and not necessarily have to be connected to their work computer or anything like that. Additionally, those are some of the supports that we've looked to help our clients out with, like taking a look at what are some of their needs that they have just from a technology standpoint, and we've turned around and said, these are some of the helps, the aids that we can provide you with. We're looking at providing some training around how to use specific tools or how to maximize some of the tools that are in their tool set. And we just really want to make sure that we're partnering well with both our internal people and our clients to ensure that they are able to effectively navigate these really unconventional times. And so as we talk about things more from a personal perspective, we'd like to look at what are some ways that we can maximize the technology to be able to support our remote workforce, and just really look at it from a personal aspect. So we really believe that equipment guidelines, training and equipment or engagement are really necessary to enable us and our team members to be successful in our roles. So that means our physical locations may really have changed, but honestly, our need for those things, they haven't. And so honestly, they probably really increased. So therefore, we really need to ensure that our teams have the proper equipment to work remotely, such as headphones, large monitors, laptops, docking stations. It's really important to minimize the change that they're going to have from their office to their home office. Also, we really know that there are certain expectations that that we have of our staff, and there are expectations of us while we're all working. We still need to be able to measure productivity and the efficiency of our staff. They still need to know the expectations that we have of them. But it's really important that we evaluate our current guidelines and enhance them to include those expectations that we have around remote work while really being realistic in our thinking. We're all really adjusting to a new normal, and we should expect that just as we're home along with our families, so are they. And that's going to just present a bunch of new challenges that we're going to have to work through. We want to make sure also that we provided adequate training for our staff and for our management to effectively use technology that we've given them, and also how to effectively manage their staff and use effective communication. And then along with communication, we really want to look at the strategies that we're employing to engage with our employees. So that they don't feel like they're alone or on an island. Really want to evaluate what our communication plan looks like. How frequently are we communicating with our employees? What methods are we using to communicate with them? What tools do we have? And then really, not all communication has to be of a business tone, but we want you to think of ways to get your employees involved and interacting with one another, to kind of lighten some of the burden that we're all feeling. So, infusion of humor is really a good thing, especially during these times. So what have we done internally to help in supporting our teams? As we move to a remote workforce, our leadership recognized that there's going to be some different requirements that our employees have to be able to do their jobs. Such as maybe someone needs to have multiple large monitors because they're working with multiple different applications and spreadsheets and the like. And maybe they need the docking stations to hook all those things up too. Our leadership made the decision really to implement the policies and procedures to allow us to check out the equipment we have in the office and bring it home in our home office so that we can minimize the change in equipment that we have and really maximize our ability to use that. And then around expectations and guidance, Ryan, can you talk a little bit about what the KSMC leadership has communicated to us and the thoughts that went into that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not complicated, but I mean, really the gist of it is someone has to take ownership of kind of keeping track of what, the day-to-day changes in the current ecosystem, right? So what are things like travel requirements, simple things like shipping, receiving, availability of our folks, knowing that there are additional requirements with family kind of things. We switched to daily time tracking. We have a daily stand-up, every morning that kind of catches everybody up, when and how to have video meetings and communications and ad hoc meetings. And I think you made a good point earlier about also teaching some of our managers, especially our junior managers that are just starting to learn about how to manage a team inside an office. It's a whole different world to manage that same team in a pure remote situation. So really just providing guidance and expectation setting around all those things. And it's okay. I guess the biggest thing that we've learned is it's okay not to have all the answers out of the gate. It's okay to have an authentic conversation where you don't know the answer to something, but you'll go figure it out. So just helping set some of those expectations, I think was important.
Great, thanks, Ryan. I think as we move a little bit further into equipping our workforce. We've gone from providing them the guidelines and expectations that we have around how to do their job. We then need to also train them on how to actually do their job or use the tools to do their job. So at KSMC, we've actually worked on making sure that our staff has received the training they need to use the technology that we've given them. For example, recently we switched from Skype for Business to using Microsoft Teams to be our communication platform. And as we were rolling that out, we were really looking at holding multiple meetings to ensure that our staff knew how to effectively use the solution. They knew some additional functionality that was inside of that application. And then they're really digging in and trying to learn it. And then past that, we provided some follow-up training to support people who maybe needed a little bit more hand-holding and ramping up on how to use the platform. And we're doing that even today with implementation of other technologies. But really, regardless of what the technology is or what the application is, we believe that if we desire our employees to effectively use the tools that we give them, then we really have to make sure that they have all the necessary training to do so. And that means getting out in front of the employees as you're rolling that out, but also having follow-up training and maybe even implementing some office hours where our employees can come in and ask some of the internal experts around the tool different questions on how do I use this? What's a better way to do this? What are some of our processes around doing X with the specific technology? And then our company has really evaluated how we're engaging one another, both from leadership to employee and across our various teams. For example, our CEO has started implementing weekly computer-side chats to keep our organization informed during these times where we're all working remote. And so he takes the time to kind of run through things, how things are going within the organization, outside the organization, the things that he's hearing. And then also he takes the time to field questions and concerns from our staff so that they feel plugged in and feel like they have a voice. Additionally, our teams are using Microsoft Teams to have daily stand-up meetings where we're using the video chat capabilities. We'll get in and the first thing we have to do is turn our computer on or turn our cameras on. So that can help to ensure that we're staying engaged in the conversation and add just a little bit of accountability, but also allows us to have a little bit of fun with our teams as well. Recently, my boss decided that it would be a great idea to pretend he's Mr. Rogers and do the entire Mr. Rogers intro and putting on the jacket and putting on the shoes and just adding in a little bit of humor into how we're communicating. And that's really important. It's we need to engage certainly at a work level and a productivity level, but we also really need to engage on a personal level. We're all humans. We all want to have that interaction with someone and with our team. So there are other methods that we're using to engage and to add a little bit of lightheartedness in our communication, such as having conversations using GIFs or taking silly pictures of our kids and sharing them and posting them on our slide decks. Actually, one of my recent favorites that we've done is we have a weekly communication that we send out to our employees, and we decided that it was going to be a great idea to have some of our internal employees interview our CEO while eating really spicy chicken wings. And I found it hilarious to see just just how bad it affected them, and just watch the interaction and hilarity ramp up as the interview continued. So, I mean, again, at the end of the day, we all want to make sure we're doing our jobs, but we're human. We love to have those moments that bring humor and joy to our lives at work. Ryan, do you have any other thoughts around that?
The only thing that I will add to that, and I think that was a good summation, is that authenticity and empathy towards each other, and while we're working remote. I think it's okay that there are going to be dogs and children and messy offices in the background. I think everybody should just kind of expect that at this point and be empathetic towards each other's situations. And I think embracing that is where some of that humor that you mentioned comes from. Embracing that we're all human, and we're all kind of living through some unprecedented situations right now, and that's all okay. I think that's the only thing I'd add.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So to summarize all this, we just have a few final thoughts we really want to leave you with. First, this is really a new environment, right? A few weeks ago, a month ago, we were all working in our offices and going through the day-to-day, just as business as usual, and that's really shifted. So we're all really learning right now, and that's okay. It's like Ryan said, it's okay to have those moments of messiness, right? But again, it's a learning opportunity, and as we're learning and navigating through all these times, realize that we're all really going to benefit from them by focusing on how we can continually improve our organization, improve our communications, both internal and external. So we can start by looking at our core employees and our customer needs and seeing how we can help solve some of those problems. What are some of the business processes that maybe we need to solve? What some of the technology problems that maybe we need to solve to provide a better experience for both our customers and our internal employees? And then really, after you've been able to focus there for a while, you can a little bit more and start looking at what are some of the evolving needs that my business has now that I have some of these strategies and solutions in place. And then I think it's important to realize that if we don't provide our employees with the solutions and technology they need to do their job, they're going to find their own solutions. They're going to go rogue. And they're going to try and figure out a way to get their job done. Because at the end of the day, we all want to do our job. We all want to do it well. But if we don't have the proper tools in place or the right guidance in place, then we're going to try and figure out our own way. And we really want to keep people from going rogue and not having those procedures and tools in place that are supportable. Additionally, we really want to encourage you to engage your employees, kind of crowdsource the information from your people, right? You have the people who are the boots on the ground, who are closest to a lot of the problems, and they're really going to be a great source of information to help you to understand what's going on in the organization, what are some of the problems that I need to solve, what are some of the pitfalls, and also what's really working well and what can we do more of. We want to make sure that we're able to implement effective solutions so that we're all able to work much more effectively in these times, and really even past these times. So really, what's next? We're all learning about our everyday needs of our people and how to serve our clients while we're working remote. So if you guys have if you'd like to have a conversation around what's going on in your organization or what you've learned today from our meeting, we'd certainly love to take the time to sit down and speak with you. Our contact information is up on the screen, and we're really here to help you. Again, we want to make sure that you guys are thriving. Ryan, do you want to add anything else?
No, I think that's perfect. But definitely to Fred's point, reach out. If you have questions about any of that stuff, you can reach out to us directly. I think a lot of the folks on this interaction have, account managers at KSMC already. Definitely reach out to those folks. They know how to get a hold of us as well. We're all in pretty close contact with one another. So if you can't get a hold of them, get a hold of us. If you can't get a hold of us, get a hold of them. But somebody is kind of standing by and available to start having some of these conversations if you need help.
Excellent. And with that, we want to just kind of open the floor for any questions that you might have based on the conversation we've had today.
Fred, this is Stephanie chiming back in. We have received just a couple of questions here in the Q&A. The first one is around remote gear. Do you think docking stations are necessary for remote offices for your employees? And moreover, how do you decide what gear that you should invest in versus what might not really be necessary?
Hey, Fred,
Sure.
I'll take that.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, good question. Generally, I would try to make the experience for you at home as similar as possible to what's at the office. And while I wouldn't go out and buy a whole bunch of gear unless it's absolutely necessary, I absolutely encourage you to figure out a way for you to get some of that gear that's normally at the office at home. And that's, for us, like we're absolutely doing that. And so we've created a register for tracking purposes and an approval process to go through our internal IT team to get that equipment out of their normal day-to-day offices into their home offices. And just being, again, a little empathetic to that, so to try to eliminate as much change as possible for some of our folks. So yeah, I highly encourage to make the situation at home as identical as possible.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Ryan. And last question here. When it comes to tackling technology for remote work, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by all of these different aspects, where do you suggest starting?
Okay. Yeah, I think again, just reaching out to somebody at our team, and we can help guide some of those conversations. We've had dozens of them at this point. That's a good place to start. You could also start internally. Talk to your leadership teams. Are they struggling? Are their people struggling? And if they are, utilizing us to avoid pitfalls and to solve problems that other folks have already been through, I think is great. So I highly recommend talking to us or your account manager, and at least engaging your management team as a starting point to see what problems exist, and not just making kind of blind assumptions that everything's okay.
Sure. And we just had one more question come in. He said, we use WebEx for virtual meetings with clients, but also have Microsoft Teams. Is Teams a better solution for client meetings and screen share?
I certainly think that it is a comparable solution, but it depends a little bit on the scenario. I think Teams is more geared towards small meetings. I know that they broadcast that they can do kind of 10,000 user presentations, but I haven't seen that done much. I've seen more of the GoToWebinars for those large broadcasts. But for your day-to-day like interactions, Teams is a great tool, and more importantly, it's again back to one of my original points around we wanted to capture conversations around documents and just even conversations with one another aside from general email. Email is a great tool, but I find that we don't distribute information well via email. because it shows up in someone's inbox and then goes away. Versus in Teams, those conversations can be persistent, and people can go back and review them, ask questions about them. What one person may be asking, 15 other people may just have been too shy to ask. And Teams is a great place to have those conversations. For pure video conferencing aspect, I think it's equivalent to GoToWebinar. It's got the same capabilities to invite guests who don't use Teams to it, which is critical. It's got screen sharing capability, which is really nice. I don't know. I think it's a pretty great tool. And if you're already paying for Teams through your Office 365 licensing, and you're paying extra for GoToWebinar, it's absolutely worth calling us to see if how you're utilizing it. GoToWebinar, and if we can convert all those kind of workloads into Teams for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. I think that's all of our questions for this afternoon.
Excellent.
Perfect. Well, thanks everybody for joining. I appreciate the time. Fred, you got any last words?
No, just like you said, thank you so much for joining. I hope this was helpful for you and helped you to start evaluating how you guys are using your technology during these times. Thanks so much.